everyone enjoyed this so much the first time we had to bring it back. What's the weirdest or rudest question someone has asked you about your limb difference?
This is going to sound really weird, but sometimes I actually forget I'm disabled until I see my reflection somewhere.
On you personally, do you kind of prefer it when people ask about your limb difference or just ignore it?
I think it depends. For me, I have to be at a level of comfort with that person. There has to be some relationship there.
Yeah.
If it's a complete stranger, then it's a bit awkward, isn't it?
A bit invasive.
Yeah, it's just a bit much.
What's something you wish more people knew about living with a limb difference?
Ooh, I guess kind of just the bigger impact it has on your body. I think it's just not really spoken about at all. I never really saw anyone that looked like me doing the things that I love to do.
Hello and welcome to the Purple Goat podcast. In today's episode, we've got a really nice one answering some of Google's most searched questions on limb difference. We're going to be joined by Dani, our campaign director here at PG, giving you a little bit more insight on everything that Google and people have been searching. So it's going to be a really good one. Hope you enjoy it. So everyone enjoyed this so much the first time we had to bring it back, but this time with Dani.
Hello.
Dani, if you'd like to introduce yourself for us.
Yes, I'm Dani. I'm the campaign director here at PG.
Very fancy. So today we're going to be answering some of Google's most searched questions on limb difference. And first up, if you'd just like to talk to us about sort of you, your journey, etc.
Yes, so I have an upper limb difference. My condition is called a brachial plexus injury.
I'm not going to try and repeat that.
It's also known as Erb's palsy as well, which is a little bit easier to say.
Yeah. Okay, so first up, is limb difference a disability?
Yes.
Yes.
Said with caution. I think the limb difference community kind of just identifies having a limb difference, and some people may or may not say that they're disabled. Me personally, I do. Mm-hmm. My disability affects parts of my daily life that makes things more difficult. Therefore, for me, it's a disability, and that's the way I choose to view it. But for some people, yeah, they'll kind of just say that they've got a limb difference and may not identify as being disabled.
First. So were you born this way or did you acquire your disability?
Technically both, actually. Okay. So I wasn't born with it in the sense that it's a genetic condition or anything like that. Basically, when my mom was giving birth to me, there was an injury at birth. The doctors were negligent, and it resulted in the doctor severing parts of my spinal cord that attach and run through my neck, which obviously attached to my arm, and that's how I acquired my disability. But obviously, because it happened at birth, technically I was born with it, but it's not it's not because of genetics or anything like that.
Fair. A bit of both.
Yeah, a bit of both.
Fairs. Okay, next question. How do you do everyday tasks with your limb difference, like tying your shoes or cooking? Or
I don't cook. I hate cooking. I'm not here for that in the slightest. But there are definitely ways around it, and I can cook, I just choose not to. There's so many tools and stuff available now for being in the kitchen, which is really cool. I recently got an electric chopper, which I love, and helps and saves so much time. But truthfully, I'm just lazy when it comes to cooking, and I'm not about that life. But in terms of everyday tasks, it sounds really weird, but because I've not known any different, I've just kind of cracked on and learned to adapt. And when I was younger, I spent a lot of times in occupational therapy, which is where they help you and teach you to do things in a different way. So I learned a lot of my skills in occupational therapy, and with the support of my doctors and stuff like that way back when. But mostly I'm just really stubborn, and it really annoys me if I can't figure out something and I can't do something. So for example, tying my shoelaces, I couldn't do it when I was younger, and it would really frustrate me. So I used to sit on my stairs in my house, and I'd put the shoe on my lap, and I'd just practice tying for hours until I figured out a way that worked for me. And then when I could do it like that, I'd put it on my foot and then try, and then eventually I figured out how to do it with one hand.
Fair. Trial and error.
Exactly.
First. Okay, next up. Does having a limb difference affect your ability to drive and do sport?
Yes and no. Again, really mixed. So to drive, I have to have an adaptation in my car. It's called a lollipop. Yeah. And basically it's like a control that goes on my steering wheel, and it like has, I think, like 12 buttons on there, and it's like for the indicators and the wipers and the horn and the lights, so I can access everything off this one singular panel that's attached to my steering wheel. And then obviously, instead of using the steering wheel like you would normally, I kind of just use it on this device. And it's really weird to drive though, because you have to like use like your whole like arm and like turn the wheel on this like one stick, and it took me a while to get used to. When I first started doing my driving lessons, I couldn't turn the wheel fast enough. So it took me a really long time to learn to drive, but you definitely can do it. Like there's so many adaptions available. Like seeing Dom's adaptions in his van is like really, really cool as well, because it's a completely different set of adaptions to what I need. And playing sport definitely doesn't stop me. I love sport. It's a huge part of my life. I play football, I swim, I go to the gym, all sorts. It's never really like affected me in that way. I've even played like netball and basketball and stuff like that too. So
cool. Yeah. Sick. Nice. Do you experience any pain or any other physical challenges because of your limb difference?
Yeah, I think like one of the common misconceptions with a limb difference is like people will just look at you and like see like my arm, for example, and just think, oh, it's like just a arm, no big deal. But I don't think people realize the bigger impact it has on like your shoulders and your back and your hips. Like there's a lot of like overcompensating that your body naturally does. And because my arm's shorter than my like non-injured arm as well, like my body like adapts and moves in ways that it wouldn't usually. And that puts a lot of pressure on like your joints and your muscles and stuff like that. So yeah, for sure, like learning to manage pain has been like a big part of my life. When I was younger, pain was like a really big factor in a lot of things, and it did at times stop me from doing things that I really, really loved. And I think as I've got older, I've just learned to like manage and deal with that a little bit better, and like learn to take care of myself, I guess. And now, like, I'd like say, like, obviously I have good and bad days, but 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty all right.
Oh, fair. Self-care in all the ways.
Absolutely.
Have you ever used a prosthetic, and if so, did you like it?
I've never used a prosthetic. So when I was younger, I used to have like a lot of braces for my arm, so like particularly like my wrist and stuff. So I'd go and have like special braces fitted all the time. And for my condition, here in the UK, we don't have like any sort of prosthetic for it. But actually in the US, there is a mechanical prosthetic which looks super, super cool. I've never tried it. I absolutely would love to, just to kind of experience it and see what it's like. But yeah, no.
Nice. You mentioned then not being a lot of media representation or any really representation around growing up. Are there any other examples that you can think of?
The only one that I know of, like off the top of my head, is Finding Nemo, which is really weird and funny, I guess, because you wouldn't like really think that you could relate to a clownfish. But it's the only program or like film that I know of where a main character has got like a smaller arm or like a limb difference. I really can't recall like any other type of like representation happening, particularly when I was younger. Like Finding Nemo was played on repeat because I just like loved it and related to it a lot. And yeah, other than that, there's really not a lot. I guess like typically when you think of a limb difference, like people will typically jump to like somebody who is an amputee. You wouldn't really see someone like with my condition, for example.
How do people typically react when they meet you?
Do you know, when I was younger, a lot of people would, like, particularly at school, people would just ask me, like, oh, what's up with your arm? And I'd just be like, oh, I was just born this way, like, the doctor did it, but, like, it doesn't really, like, affect me, or, like, and I'd just kind of play it off like that. And then a lot of people I meet will like, mention it, but then they'll be like, oh, but, like, you're not disabled, though, like, and that will be, like, a passing comment. And then one time, it was my first holiday abroad, actually, and I went away on like a girls trip with my friend who was like 18, and I was in a bikini and we was at the pool, and we were speaking to this like older lady, and she's like, oh, I didn't even recognize your arm, like I just couldn't even tell. And I was like, you're fully lying, like I'm in a bikini, you can clearly see it, and I've got a massive scar, like you can very clearly tell. So it's like people will either like brush it off, say that I'm not disabled, and pretend that they haven't seen it almost, which is like a really weird feeling, I guess. I'm just like, you clearly can. I don't understand. It's not a bad thing. You can say it's okay.
Off the back of that question, have you ever faced any bullying or discrimination because of having a limb difference and being disabled?
Growing up, school and stuff, I was super, super lucky. Like, never got bullied for like being disabled or anything like that.
Love that.
Yeah, and I think as I've got older, discrimination, maybe more so in like when I was trying to get like my first job, and like in sport as well, there's quite a lot of like discrimination, but it's just because like the pathways and the education like isn't there. I think those would be like the two major places I've kind of experienced discrimination, but other than that, like not too much. Obviously super lucky working at PG, like everyone understands and gets it, so that's been really nice as well.
What's the weirdest or rudest question someone has asked you about your limb difference?
Well, it was like kind of like a passing statement, but someone did ask me if it was bitten off by a lion before, which is like, you know, I'm like, no, my arm is still there. What do you mean? Like, it does not even make any sense.
Could just imagine a lion roaming the streets of Birmingham. Like,
I mean, listen, crazier things have happened, right?
So, on you personally, do you kind of prefer it when people ask about your limb difference, or just ignore it?
I think it depends. For me, like, I have to be at a level of comfort with that person. Like, there has to be some relationship there.
Yeah.
If it's like a complete stranger, then like it's a bit awkward, isn't it?
A bit invasive.
Yeah, it's just a bit much. But if it's like from like a genuine curiosity, educational point of view, and it's asked in like a really respectful way, then like I'll always talk about it and I'll never like close down the conversation or whatever. But yeah, for me, like if I know you, you can ask me anything. You ask me the most random questions all the time, actually.
Yeah, I do.
And that's fine, like we know each other on that level. But yeah, I'd prefer it, which rarely happens. I rarely get comments from strangers, to be honest.
Yeah, fair. I'm not a stranger. Are there any other tools or assistive devices that you use to make things easier for yourself?
When I was younger, I used to use like these like adapted knives and forks, and they had like big spongy handles on them.
Okay.
Because I couldn't grip properly, and I used to like drop things all the time, because naturally I actually would have been right-handed.
Right, I've asked you this before.
Yeah, but obviously I'm like forced to be a lefty, so it took me like a minute for my brain to like catch up. And I also used a special pair of adapted scissors. Cutting is really difficult.
I've never really thought about that.
It's really hard. I could never get the scissors to work. And like it just wouldn't cut the paper, so I had a special pair of adapted scissors too, and like I had like a back scrubber in the shower to like help with that kind of stuff as well. I guess it's more like just everyday bits rather than like a big like huge adapted piece of equipment. I don't really need anything like that. It's more like smaller things. Grab rails, like when I was younger I used to lose my balance a lot, and like I used to fall over. Obviously having limbs that are different sizes like really throws off like your centre of gravity and stuff. And I would fall over all the time, particularly if I was walking up or down the stairs. So there's been countless times where I've just like decked it down the stairs. And yeah, so grab rails were like really common in my house as well growing up.
What's something you wish more people knew about living with a limb difference?
I guess kind of just like the bigger impact it has on your body. Like I think it's just not really spoken about like at all. And quite often people will just see your arm, like in my instance my arm, and just think, oh, like it's just her arm, like she's got another one, she can do lots of things independently, without realizing like the much bigger impact it has on like my back and like my hip, and like that bigger impact there for me.
Do you have any favourite creators with a limb difference?
I do.
Ooh. Please share.
I really love April Lockhart. She's from the US. She's a fashion creator. She does some really cool things, and she's recently done like a kids like fashion runway event for kids with limb differences as well, which I really love. Week Steph is a fitness wellness creator that I really, really love. She's an amputee. And then there's Alex Do you remember the handle? Is it
One leg.
one leg Alex? I think he's really cool as well.
Love his golden leg.
Yeah, like the things that can be done with prosthetics these days are like is crazy. But yeah, those are just a few. They're all US based. I should have said some UK creators too, but
maybe you should be a creator.
I don't have it in me.
Another question is, do you have a name for your limb difference for your arm? Or
Yeah.
go on.
So ever since I was little, I always called it my bad hand. But I don't mean bad as in like a negative or naughty. I meant bad as in like this one's good and this one's bad because it doesn't work.
Fair.
So when I say that, a lot of people think that I'm meaning it in like this really negative way. But I don't. It's just like when I was younger, for some reason, if something didn't work, I would say that it was bad.
Fair.
So that's why, but I call it my bad hand, yeah.
Thank you, Dani, for answering some of Google's most searched questions on limb difference. Hopefully people feel a little bit more educated and, you know, that they can ask and know better about these questions and different things that people with limb differences face. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you really enjoyed this episode and it was insightful. Thank you also to ID Studios for hosting us. It's a really nice and accessible space with really, really friendly staff. So if you need any podcasting studio requirements, please get in contact with them.